All right, so let me just dive right into it. So right now, one of my students is studying more in depth about divine knowledge itself, and by listening to some of her videos and asking her questions, it kind of like provoked a memory in my brain as far as my first introduction to it. And I made a separate video about that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be releasing that soon. But I wanted to be able to discuss like the scientific part of it, my interpretation of it, and everything as far as like knowledge itself. So when I went deeper into learning more about it, I kind of figured I kind of start looking at I start thinking like I believe like people already know and have knowledge of who they are. Right? I just think people just don't acknowledge who they are. That's really the big thing. Because I feel like when you don't acknowledge who you are, and if you don't bring power to it, then eventually you're gonna start becoming something you're not. Depending on the energy that's around you, depending on what environments are around you, things like that. Because if I know I'm an intelligent person, but I don't acknowledge it and give it power, like with my brain, I can really easily become to believe that I am something else, something totally entirely different. Because I remember, like as a kid, I remember like I used to always remind myself. He used to tell me like always remind yourself of what you are and everything like that. And I feel like that's dealing with me that use your brain to continue to give power to that thought. Don't let that thought go away. They used to say, you're a king. You're a king. Always tell yourself that. Always remember that and everything like that. If I never told myself that I was a king and acknowledge it in my head, um, then I could have easily thought that I was a squirrel or I was a weakling or something else based on who was around me. Because if I'm not saying that to myself in my head, then the people around me could have their own interpretation of who I am. They could be like saying like, "Oh, you're a bum," and I will probably start thinking that I'm a bum if I'm not giving that power to my brain to acknowledge who I am. So when I look at the knowledge itself, knowledge itself it's not something that's really special to me anymore to that degree because I feel like I solved the puzzle on it. I think what's special is the human mind having the ability to give power to who you are. And I believe that who you are is what you were as a child. It's not who you are like right now. Right. I believe that who we are right now is a product of like a damaged childhood. You know what I'm saying? We are the what's the word? The end result of that or the continuance of that. You know what I'm saying? Over the years of having different experiences. Because if you had childhood trauma, and say your childhood trauma started when you was like 7 years old, right? So if you don't solve the trauma, then I'm talking about like from 7 years old to where you at like now. You know what I'm saying? Of not resolving something, you are going to have different experiences, and each one of those experiences is going to create more trauma on you. All right. So it's who we are. It's who we were when we were a child. It's not who we are right now. All right. Because what we were doing as a child and how we felt about ourselves was pretty much leading us towards our purpose. Right. If you remember your childhood, you know what I'm saying. Also with knowledge itself, you got to really look at the genetic part of it too. You got to look at who your father was and who your mother was, and then you got to look at any remembering that you have of your first child experiences. So what I do with now, I'm gonna give you an exercise of something that I practice that helped me with it. What I did was when I first started to heal my trauma, I would like smoke weed and I think I was drinking a little Remy Martin or whatever like that, right? Back then. And what that does is each individual I feel needs to find out what their choice of drug is. I guess I'm gonna say it better that way. the choice of drug that opens up your mind and make you think better. Like weed opens up my mind and make me think more in depth. So each individual has their thing. You can't really have nothing blocking the truth. That's the big thing about really finding out who you are. You have to really be completely honest. You know what I'm saying? So because if you're not honest, you're not going to heal anything. You know what I'm saying? We can really put in our brains. The human mind has the ability to look at something that's real and interpret it as being fake for our own for our own enjoyment, for our own purpose, or to stop us from feeling pain or something. You know what I'm saying? The human mind could trick us that. We won't be able we want to be able to have the truth. So whatever drug of choice you have is going to allow that to open up your mind, and you're going to see things for what they actually are. And that's what's very important. Like you have to look at your mother, you have to look at your father, and say to yourself, when you say give power to your brain, to power to the thought of who you are, you got to give power to it using your brain. You have to be truthful about who they really was. Because when you was a kid, you gave your parents excuses as to why they did certain shit. You never really held them accountable. So when you grew up as a kid, you really grew up with a lie, really, because you didn't believe what was the truth about them. So that's what you really got to do. You have to look at like your parents is the first ones because they got the genetic coding inside you. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got part of their DNA and stuff. You're their child and shit like that. So you got to look at them, and you really got to look at what my father was, what type of mentality is, what was he doing? And then you pretty much got to take notes. And then you got to look at what your mother was doing. And you take notes and everything like that. You start from there. And then you got to go in and remember your first experiences growing up. Because when you look at a child, if you watch a child is really going to find out shit itself. Like you really don't have to teach a child how to walk. You give a child enough time, the child's going to walk on his own. You don't have to teach a child how to use a cup to drink because that child has been watching you drink that cup for the longest time. You just didn't even know it. So the child is using problem solving skills, critical thinking skills. The child is really like doing a lot of different things, but it's growing into its skill level. It's practicing, it's experimenting, all those different type of things. Now you're going to start seeing a child gravitate to certain things. And a lot of them things are in the arts. But you're going to start seeing a child take something that it really likes doing. Right? It may take some blocks and start stacking them up. It may grab a pen and start writing on sheets of paper and everything like that. So the child is going to start picking things on its own that spark something inside it to learn it even more. And you have to be able to find out what those were. Because those things was leading you on to your path. Because the child picks up, this is why children jump from one thing to the next. Is because they'll learn it, and then sometimes it ain't what they need to go further with what they got, what's in their brain. See, the child is born with the purpose. Or born with let me say this. I think the child is born with instructions to get to the purpose and what may be needed to get to the purpose. I don't think it's given the purpose yet. Right? Or maybe in certain children it is. But the child usually starts getting the tools to get to the purpose. So you see a child jump over here and start working with that. And then they'll stop working with that. And then they go jump onto something else. And then you see that child working on this long enough and everything like that, and more than the other thing. And they'll try to jump on something else. So the child is figuring it out. Because it's already in their brain and stuff, like where it needs to go. So the child will start picking up different skills. Like you may like drawing. You may like dancing and playing around. You may like comedy. You may like helping your friends out. You know, all these different things. You have to really be intricate in how you're thinking about it. Because you have to write this stuff down. You got to try to activate it in your brain so you can remember it in an automatic thought process. So you just think about it and it just pops up. You know what I'm saying? You got to look at everything that you was doing, because everything you was doing back then was leading you towards more of what you're supposed to do. And then what happened was You got robbed. And the reason why you got robbed, and I feel like not the first traumatic experience, I think the first traumatic experience for a child is when he hits the environment and starts crying, and starts screaming and shit when it come out the mother. But another childhood trauma I felt was when you start having adults and people around your life at that time that start stopping you from doing certain stuff. Like, you know what I mean? If you was trying to just say a kid was trying to color in a book or whatever, and then an adult would be like, man, stop playing in that book, man. Put that book down. It's time to do this. Or the kid's picking up something. Like, it's an adult stopping the kid because the adult just thinks the kid is a kid, that a kid doesn't have, like, I don't know, not saying it doesn't have real purpose, but it doesn't override. What the kid is doing don't override what the parent wants them to do at the moment, right? So it'd be like that sometimes. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes, it's whatever, but that's what it is. That's what I found out what it was. So it stops the child from doing something. That's why you always, sometimes when a child is doing something, when you tell them, like, get ready to go to bed, or you tell them to get ready to do something, they always start pounding, like, come on, mom, or come on, dad, I was almost done, man. I want to finish. Like, when the kids start doing that, that's a tool that's supposed to get them to where they're supposed to go. That's what that is. Because they're whining about it and they're complaining about it. And a lot of times they're whining and complaining about it and they really ain't never really mastered it yet. But it's something that's triggering something in them to be able to rock with it. So you have to look at that. Because the adults and the environment, they altered our path based on how they treated us. Right? So you may have a gift also that or you may have something about who you are that the environment doesn't like. At that point, you could be 8 years old or something, as an example, and you can be just like a nerdy kid that want to just read every day, and you get into a certain environment that ain't like helping that be productive. The kids will start teasing you and shit. And once the kids start teasing you, you start becoming, your brain starts changing you to be something else, so it does not feel any trauma, so it does not feel hurt or embarrassed. That's why kids change when they little. Like, they have the ability to change. Like, they're not going to wear certain clothes to school because they know they're going to laugh at them, or they're not going to get wear these shoes that they know they're going to laugh at them, whatever. So the kid starts changing shit about itself, so it can fit into the environment and be liked and shit, to be cool. And that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's another trauma to a certain degree, because you're trying to be something that you're not, really are and stuff. But the environment and the ridicule of that environment is really forcing you to change it. You know what I'm saying? So you go into a new direction, and you know what I'm saying, and your mind is forced to change in order to survive in that new direction. So the mind ain't going the way it's supposed to be before. Now the mind got to figure out where the hell the parent said they should be at now, or what's safer for the kid or whatever like that. So finding a purpose, pretty much probably starts with the parents telling you or not understanding what your gifts is and what your talents are. They don't bring light to it. They don't care about it too much and that type of thing. And they start making the kid feel a certain kind of way that the kid doesn't want to be able to be the best that he can at it. So some of those things start dying off. You know what I'm saying? And then you're gonna start experiencing life and start experiencing, and then you're gonna go through other traumas. You're gonna go through other things. See, the trauma to me is things that rattle the brain that the brain does not understand. Like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have a solution for it. You know what I'm saying? So when you get like, just say like in my situation, I was beaten, right? So I deal with a lot of child abuse situations. Childhood trauma came from that. You know what I'm saying? Of being beaten like that. So if I'm not able to understand why I'm being beaten and why is this happening to me, then my brain ain't able to heal. My brain ain't able to process it with a solution. And then the trauma grows then, because there's no answers and shit. I haven't provided an answer. I don't know what's happening. And the brain is just going to store it until it finds an answer one day. And then whatever it is that's being stored, is breaking the kid down in the brain. It's making the kid's brain change to something else. You know what I'm saying? So as a kid, when I'm going through that, and then I'm gonna tell you, I felt really fucked up. Sometimes I felt like killing myself, right? Because I couldn't stop it. So if I think about killing myself, that's very, very traumatic because I'm supposed to be thinking about playing fucking checkers and shit, right? I'm supposed to be thinking about the stuff, the fun things I'm supposed to be doing. That's supposed to be getting me close to my purpose later on in life. But instead of doing that, I'm focusing on healing my brain and shit, though. My brain ain't focused on it no more. My brain is trying to figure out, like, you know what I'm saying, why you getting beaten every goddamn day. So that's when I start saying that people been robbed of their childhood, those are like examples. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Because when I'm telling you, the trauma hits the child, the brain stops focusing on those beautiful things, man. The brain, I feel like, just shuts down and shit. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like the brain is trying to repair itself, but it needs solutions. And it doesn't have any solutions at that moment. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you got to understand who your parents were, because of course they created you and stuff like that, and you really have to be able to connect back to your childhood. And some people's childhoods are really, really scary, right? So you have to find some way and some courage to go back there and start fixing shit. You know what I'm saying? Just because you ran away from it in your brain does not mean that it's not there no more. That's what people don't understand about the knowledge of self shit. When they try to figure out who they are, a lot of people have ran away from who they really are and shit. And it doesn't, and you can run for 20 years, you can run for 10 years or whatever. You know what I'm saying? The actual factual truth of what actually happened to you is going to be there forever until you go back there and you figure it out. Why it happened. What could you do better in the situation? You have to solve the problem. Because once you do that with your current brain, you solve that trauma right there, and then your current brain is able to protect you from repeating the same childhood trauma in a pattern. That's what happens. And so when you go, I'm gonna give you an example. So when you can go back and just say let's say I used to hang around, you know what I'm saying, some niggas, right? And say some niggas hurt me or whatever it may be, and I get trauma from that. So now when I go back into my childhood and remember that stuff, I gotta remember, like, I gotta start open up the truth. Who were they? What kind of mentality was they? You know what I'm saying? I gotta relive the situation on what could I have done better. You know what I'm saying? Why did I let that happen to me? Why did they do that to me? Whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm gonna start getting the truth. And then my brain is gonna start solving that problem. And then once my brain starts understanding why it happened and you have logical explanations for it and all that type of stuff, the brain has a solution now to be able to store it inside your consciousness somewhere. And now it's solved. So when it's solved, the brain will now stop you from hanging around other people that resemble that mentality. The brain is going to try to protect you. You can always override the human brain. Always override the human brain a lot of the times. But the human brain is going to give you an indicator. The human brain is going to be like, oh, yeah, that's one of them right there. Turn around the corner, man. Remember that from your childhood. You can't be hanging around them because they fucked you up back 20 years ago. Something like that. The brain is going to try to prevent you from picking up that energy again because it has a solution now. Now, when you don't go and heal your childhood traumas in a certain effective way, you know what I'm saying, like that, they're still going to be on you. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, you have, like I said, you have to be truthful about it. And you're going to be able to tell your trauma is being healed by your pattern of behavior. You're not going to really do the same things you were. Like I said about the niggas, right? I would know my childhood trauma was healed or it is healing because I wouldn't have a desire to be connected to other niggas no more. I wouldn't have a desire to have that energy. And then you'll really know that your trauma really is done in that particular situation is when you have absolutely no desire, and it's like disgusting when you even hear the name nigga. Shit like that. It's gonna be really, really overboard and shit. You know what I'm saying? So you're not even gonna wanna be around them, you're not gonna be want to talk to them, you don't want to do none of that shit. And that's the brain just healed you, right? And now once you heal, there's a cure, right? You create a cure in your brain. And the cure is going to be like I think it's like soulful. I think it's like the aura. You can once you get the cure, I think you can feel the aura of other individuals' energy and shit. That when you feel it, dog, you be like, I can't fuck with you. You move around. Like you just feel the aura. You won't even have to have a conversation with them. And I think that's part of the cure too, by not attaching yourselves to that energy or whatever it is that caused the trauma in the first place. See, even though that another thing too, even though all that trauma happened, like all them different things, so many people have so many different traumas. But even though all that stuff happened, the brain has still never forgot what you loved as a kid. You know what I'm saying? But that brain cannot bring that power to it if it's traumatized. Hope people understand that. Because when it's traumatized, the brain is weak when it comes to that area of things. So if you fix the brain and heal the trauma situation, the brain is able to give power to those things that you once liked as a child. See what I'm saying? So you gotta understand, as children though, like look at your childhood if you can. You know what I'm saying? You were able to solve problems back then. You enjoyed the challenge of solving problems. So a lot of kids be like, oh, let me try to fix that out. Let me try to do that. Let me do it. Let me do it. Like you want to be able to solve the problem. You want to be able to fix it out. Nobody had to tell you to do it. You were doing that shit on your own. That's how you know. You know what I'm saying? And if you didn't have the answer to it, you'd be up all day, dude, trying to figure out what the answer is. You go get this person, you go get that person. You cannot rest and you cannot sleep like that, dude, if you did not have the answer. Right? So, and also you would do it you'll solve problems for your friends. You know what I mean? As a kid, we had unconditional love. You know what I'm saying? A lot of different beautiful things about us. Right? And when you get older, you're supposed to have those same things. Because when you get older, they're supposed to be even more enhanced if you heal trauma or you didn't have any trauma. If you went through the natural process of of childhood going to adulthood and you didn't have like trauma like that, you're going to lead to that. So when you get into adult, it feels really good. When you're an adult, you're going to be trying to find people answers. When you're an adult, you're going to have unconditional love for people and everything like that. You're going to have that presently in your life because that's where it started. So when you start to get older, it's supposed to grow to be even bigger, bigger, and more powerful. But if you don't have those things right now in your life, it's because you still have that childhood trauma. Because your behavior is going to be opposite of that. You're not going to want to have unconditional love. You're not going to have the ability to solve problems and go all in depth with that stuff. You're really not going to be able to do a lot of stuff that you was doing as a kid, and you probably don't like a lot of the stuff that you did as a kid, and you probably don't think what you did as a kid is really, really important. So that's going to happen if you still got trauma on you, and you can tell. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that we all everything pretty much leads back to your childhood, man. Your childhood is your beginning and your childhood is your end. Anything in between is like learning experiences and all that type of stuff to be able to help you get to your purpose. But as you get older, you start to get more into your purpose. You know what I'm saying? You start figuring out a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And then as you get more into elderly, like you gotta look at people the elderly. That's what I'm saying. It goes back to the child because the elderly are really like grown children. You know what I'm saying? You gotta change their diaper. You know what I'm saying? They need a walker. Um, um, they start to lose their ability to communicate with words out their mouth. Their hair starts falling out and all that type of shit. So the human being turns back into a kid at the end. When it dies, it's basically a kid again. It's just grown. It's just a grown version of it. But if you look at everything that the elderly need in order to be able to continue living, you will see a direct reflection of the childhood. They're like a kid again. They need somebody to take care of them. They need somebody to fix them some food. They need somebody to get them some cereal. They need somebody to put on their shoes for them. It's going to be a kid all over again. So you have to go back to the childhood. And when you go back to the childhood, like I said, you have to be truthful. And you have to be able to um start with the parents. And you go back and listen to the video um and see what I said in the beginning. But you got to do it kind of like that. It's not who you are right now. If people are looking at who they are right now, they're not healing no traumas. Because who you are right now is not what you are. Who you are right now is added shit on to what you were. This is not your true essence as far as what you are right now, what you experience. Your mindset that you are right now and all that type of stuff, you got this mindset based on experiences that you had in your life. This is not the origin. You have to go back to the origin. You have to go back to your original self. That's how you find out. And that's in your child. That's when you were born. All the other stuff just came on top of each other. As you got older, you learn this, you learn this. But your real essence, the really person who you are, is who you were as a child, man. Before the trauma hit. Before shit started changing. All right, so that's really my take on knowledge of self, man. Um, like I said, you gotta get something. Like everybody may not have a drug of choice or something to open up their mind. A lot of people may use natural stuff, whatever. But whatever it is that you use, you have to have something that does not allow your brain to have a filter to stop the truth from coming out. See, when you're sober, your brain can stop you from hearing the truth or stop you from feeling the truth. You know what I'm saying? But you need something that's gonna let those thoughts just flow out in all honesty. And then you just see that shit and you start picking that shit apart and analyzing it. And if you got a notebook and a pen, you start just picking out and start taking things for what it is. But the whole thing, you have to be truthful. And I think that's a lot of the problem with people who practice knowledge of self, is that they're not truthful. And then they start believing in knowledge of self, and stuff don't be working for them, because you have to be truthful, man. It's just the way that you have to be able to do it. Honesty is very, very important in it. And you can't be scared. You can't have fear in it. You know what I'm saying? Because your brain has to be able to solve that puzzle, man. Solve that problem. And then once that problem gets solved and everything, you're gonna start seeing your behavior change. Where you think is gonna change. Because you're gonna start going back to your original self. So everything that you are right now, all the stuff that's been on top of it and everything like that, who we are now in our mind is really a lot of defensive mechanisms, shit that we learned when we got older and shit. Because when you was on your road as a child, you start learning shit like people teach you, like a kid to be honest about something, be like, hey, that guy over there is fat. And then your mom would be like, hey, don't say that. That's not the right thing. He's not really fat like that. But your mom is lying to you. He is fat. The kid is just honest. But that's when the kid learns how to be deceptive. That's when the kid learns how to be dishonest from their own parents. Because their own parents are not teaching the kid the actual truth. So a lot of that is being compounded too. So our brains is really functioning off a traumatic mind. This ain't really the brain that we're supposed to have. Our brains are supposed to be more loving, more understanding with stuff. I could tell the behavior of somebody who's still traumatized. You know what I'm saying? By the way they talk, their communication skills and stuff like that. I can tell. So your behavior would change. Your mindset would change. And a lot of things that you're doing now, you're not going to want to do them anymore. You're going to want to do the things that you were doing when you was a kid. Excuse me. And when I say doing things as a kid, I don't mean like jumping on the monkey bars and shit like that. You ain't like you want to go to the park and, and do all that type of shit. No, you're going to pick up certain things are going to connect to you. Certain things that was very, very important to you. You're gonna come across your body. Your body is gonna look for it in the world, and you're gonna attach yourself to it, and you're gonna learn it again. You're gonna continue the journey and shit. So what I'm saying is, like, just say um you was playing with paints and shit, right? And that brought you fulfillment and joy, and you remember that in your childhood, and you brought that up in your brain when you was like healing yourself. Um, when you get around paint, you're gonna light up. You're gonna be like, oh shit, that's some paint, dog. That's some paint. I remember that paint, man. I had that paint when I was in fifth grade. You're gonna start remembering all of it. You're gonna light up, and that's how you know. And you need to go get that paint because you was probably supposed to be a painter. It's not going like people got to understand. You have to have the natural flow of it. You can't determine your purpose for you like that. You have to be able to pick up certain things. You have to let the things that you was doing as a child connect to you as an adult and naturally flow in the process to see where it leads you. That's the path. See, people speak about spiritual paths and different paths they go in life, but when you talk about the path of your purpose, you have to pick up what it was that you really, really like and start doing it again, and it's going to lead you to something else. And that something else is going to lead you to that. It's going to lead you to different. It's going to lead you down different roads, and that's going to be that road towards your purpose. You don't go down different roads. You don't go down one road. Whatever it is, because you can have one thing or 5 things or 6 things or 10 things that you liked when you was a kid that brought you happiness until you started getting those traumas. And then as an adult, you're gonna start liking them over again. And the more you give light to them, and the more you pay attention to them, and the more you love them and you embrace them as who you really are, it's gonna open up doors for you to walk through. It's gonna bring you to some shit that you didn't even expect. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way you get to your purpose. Because whatever that leads you to, like I said, you're doing the painting, right? You're gonna do the painting so much, it's gonna lead you to something else. And that's gonna lead you closer to what your purpose is. And then when you get to that next step, you're gonna see some more shit. And you're gonna experience that. That's gonna be some different shit though. It ain't gonna be the stuff from your childhood. That's gonna be the stuff that you need to go further to your purpose. So your childhood stuff is gonna lead you to the next level. So the painting is gonna lead you to this door, right? And then you're gonna open up that door, you're gonna walk in there, and it's gonna be something else that you gotta learn new. And then you're gonna learn that shit. And then when you learn that, it's gonna lead you on to something else. And you're gonna just take all these different things with you as you go down different paths, and that's gonna take you to your purpose of what you need to be in your life.